You were not born to be average. Let that truth ring deep into your bones. You weren't created to just get by, to punch a clock, to trade your hours for pennies and your dreams for sleep. You were not meant to live a life that fits inside someone else's idea of realistic. You were born with fire in your soul, forged for greatness, made to leave fingerprints on the world that can never be erased. And yet, average creeps in, quietly, subtly. It wears the mask of comfort. It speaks with the voice of reason. Be grateful for what you have. Don't be too ambitious. Play it safe. And slowly, it wraps its arms around you until you stop dreaming, stop stretching, stop becoming. But deep down, you know there's more. That whisper that wakes you up in the middle of the night, the ache in your gut when you see someone doing what you were born to do, that's not envy. That's your soul, reminding you of what you've buried. And the truth is, fortune doesn't favor the lucky. It favors the intentional, the deliberate, the ones who rise on purpose, move with precision, and refuse to settle. Fortune doesn't come to those who wait. It comes to those who build. And to go from average to fortune, there are 5 steps. Not tricks, not hacks. Steps. Deep, internal, uncompromising shifts that separate the wanderers from the warriors. The first step is brutal. It is not glamorous, but it is where every empire begins. Step 1. Wake up from denial. You cannot change what you are not willing to confront. And most people are not living in truth. They are living in denial, wrapped in distraction. Scrolling to forget, talking to feel busy, repeating the same day over and over again, calling it a life. Denial says, I'm doing okay. Truth says, you were made for more. Denial says, I'll start next week. Truth says, your time is now. Denial is the shield of the average. And the day you drop that shield, the day you stand naked in front of the mirror and admit, I've been playing small, that's the day your fortune begins. Because responsibility is the gateway. The moment you stop blaming, stop justifying, stop making excuses, and own everything, the moment your life bends toward greatness. When you say, no more stories, no more games, this is mine, my failure, my results, my destiny, that's when you become powerful. Power doesn't live in pretending. Power lives in clarity. Step 2, reprogram the operating system. You cannot build a fortune with a poverty mindset. Not just financial poverty, mental poverty. The kind of poverty that says, that's for other people. The kind that says, people like me don't do that. The kind that was installed in you by schools that trained you to follow. By parents who meant well but feared big dreams. By a society that rewards compliance over courage. Your mind is the gatekeeper of your reality. What you believe becomes what you allow. What you tolerate becomes what you attract. So you must do the inner work, daily, ruthlessly. Catch the old script, rewrite it. Speak the new one out loud until your nervous system believes it, until your actions align with your new identity. You're not average. You're not broke. You're not weak. You're not confused. You are focused. You are capable. You are precise. You are worthy. Fortune follows identity. It does not chase people with good intentions. It chases people with unshakable belief, backed by uncompromising execution. Step 3, discipline over emotion. The average live by how they feel. The fortunate live by what they've decided. Emotion says, I'm tired. Discipline says, I do it anyway. Emotion says, I don't feel like it. Discipline says, that's irrelevant. This is the chasm between potential and performance. You can read every book. You can watch every video. But if your habits are soft, your future will be fragile. Discipline is freedom. Discipline is the foundation of fortune, because when you are consistent, you become inevitable. You can't control outcomes, but you can control effort. You can control how you show up every single day, rain or shine, with or without motivation. And if you can do that, if you can lock into your routine like your life depends on it, your results will eventually have no choice but to catch up. And the people around you will call it luck. But you'll know. You earned it. In silence. In sweat. In solitude. Because discipline is lonely, but so is greatness. Step 4. Master the inner game. Most people lose before the game even begins, not because of skill, but because of noise, fear, doubt, anxiety. The inner voice that says, you're not ready. That says, who are you to do this? That voice doesn't disappear, but you can train it. You train it by taking action before you feel ready, by collecting wins, not just information, by choosing to move when your emotions tell you to freeze. Because confidence is not something you wait for, it's something you earn through action. You build confidence by keeping promises to yourself, small ones, daily, repetitive. You say, I'm getting up at 5, and you do. You say, I'm showing up today, and you show up. Not because it's easy, but because you said so. You become unstoppable not when you feel strong, but when you refuse to let weakness dictate your behavior. The inner game is the real war. And when you win there, the outside world becomes irrelevant. Step 5, move with urgency, not anxiety. Average people wait. They wait for signs. They wait for permission. They wait for certainty. But fortune rewards the bold, the decisive. You don't need more time. You need more urgency. Because your life is not unlimited. The clock is ticking. And while you sit on ideas, while you hesitate on action, while you wait for the perfect moment, someone else is already building what you were too afraid to begin. So start now with what you have, from where you are. Move before you're ready. Speak before you're confident. Act before you're approved. Build before you're known. And when it gets hard, good, that's the signal. The resistance is the sign you're moving toward fortune. Lean into it. Breathe through it. Let it sharpen you. Because on the other side of that resistance is everything you've ever wanted. Everything you've ever wanted is not hidden behind some secret formula. It's hidden behind the threshold of your current self. The fortune is there, waiting behind discipline, behind clarity, behind action that doesn't blink in the face of fear. And here's the truth. No one wants to say out loud, you are already enough, but you are not yet fully expressed. That's the difference. That's the line between average and abundance, between surviving and owning. The world doesn't need more people surviving. It needs more people awake. People so dialed in, so deeply aligned that their life becomes a force of nature. And that kind of life, that kind of fortune doesn't just happen. It's built deliberately, strategically, intensely. You must become surgical about your time, savage with your energy, sacred about your vision. You don't tolerate chaos anymore, you eliminate it. You don't entertain distractions, you exterminate them. You don't explain your focus, you embody it. Because when you live like this, when you wake up with fire and walk with certainty, you no longer chase opportunities. Opportunities chase you. Not because you're lucky, but because you're prepared, because you built the capacity. And when preparation meets boldness, when discipline meets vision, when urgency meets belief, fortune has no choice but to arrive. And when it does, when the money flows, when the freedom arrives, when the weight falls off, when the peace sets in, don't be surprised. You earned it. In the dark, when no one clapped, when no one noticed, when you showed up anyway. This is the life most people dream about, but never touch. Because most people won't become who that life requires. But you're different. You've heard the call. You've looked your old self in the mirror. You've buried the excuses, and you've begun the climb. And now, there's only one direction left. Forward. So burn the backup plan. Cut the safety net. Kill the small talk. Raise the volume on your conviction. Elevate the standard until the old. You can't breathe at that altitude. Because you're not average. You never were. And from this day forward, every step you take is proof of that truth. 5 steps. 1 identity. No retreat. No hesitation. You walk toward fortune like it already belongs to you. Because now, it does. And when you walk like it belongs to you, the world moves out of your way. Not because you're entitled, but because you're exact. There's no guesswork in your steps. There's no apology in your ambition. There's only direction locked in, eyes forward, soul on fire. You no longer try to become the kind of person who attracts fortune. You are that person, not in theory, in behavior, in execution, in who you are when no one's looking. Because fortune doesn't care about what you say. It responds to what you do. It bends to consistency. It bows to clarity. It flows to those who move like the outcome is inevitable. And the truth? For you, it is inevitable. If you stay the course, if you protect the standard, if you wake up every day and ask, what would the next level version of me do? And then do it. No hesitation, no debate, no delay. That's what makes the difference. Not IQ, not luck, not charm, but the willingness to become aligned through action. The person who's already there doesn't second guess. They don't doubt the process. They own it. They dominate it. They build from it. And you? You're not just on your way. You're in it now. The furnace, the climb, the edge where most people turn back, but not you. You accelerate. You lean in. You let the pain forge permanence. Because you understand the deeper truth. Average is forgettable. Fortune is legendary. And legacy is the reward of those who choose purpose over pressure, alignment over comfort, vision over validation. So here's what you do now. You hold the line every day, no exceptions. You read your goals until they breathe through you. You train your body until it obeys your will. You flood your mind with truth until lies can't survive in your presence. You live so fully, so ferociously, that even your shadow stands taller. And when others look at you and ask, what changed? You won't need to say a word. They'll feel it. They'll feel the silence you mastered, the pressure you endured, the habits you built, the fortune you became. Because the greatest shift isn't going from average to wealth. It's going from wishing to walking. You walk now. You rise now. You own it now. And you never, ever look back. Because the old road is gone. The bridges are burned. The escape routes erased. You no longer leave the door cracked for your past to sneak back in. You lock it, you bolt it, and you throw away the key. Because when you truly step into fortune, not just financially, but mentally, spiritually, physically, you realize something profound. You never had to chase it. It was always chasing you, but it couldn't find you when you were hiding in excuses. It couldn't catch you when you were sprinting in circles. It couldn't reach you when you were drowning in doubt. It waited for you to step into alignment, for you to stop pretending, for you to get serious, ruthless, ready. And now that you have, everything changes. Your habits aren't just rituals, they're declarations. Your movement isn't just hustle, it's identity. Your speech isn't just noise. It's a signal to the universe that you are no longer playing small. You don't ask for less pain. You demand more power. You don't lower the target. You raise your standard. You don't hope things get easier. You get stronger. You understand now. Fortune is not some distant land. It's a frequency. And you have tuned in. You walk different. You think different. You breathe like your lungs are full of fire, not fear. And when you look in the mirror, you don't see potential anymore. You see proof that average is a choice, proof that fortune is earned, proof that the 5 steps weren't steps at all, but thresholds, and you crossed every single one. So here's how this ends. It doesn't, because there is no arrival for the awakened. There is only ascent. And you're not looking for a finish line. You're building something that never dies. You are the fortune. Live accordingly. That means every breath is intentional. Every decision is a signature. Every action, a broadcast of who you are and what you stand for. You don't do things halfway anymore. You don't coast. You don't kind of commit. You're either all in or you don't step in at all. You've stepped into your greatness now, not because someone handed it to you, but because you became it, piece by piece, step by painful, precise step. And from here on out, there is no settling. There is no good enough. There is only what's required. Required to expand, required to lead, required to keep rising when the old you would have collapsed. You're not chasing fortune anymore. You are fortune. Fortune in motion. Fortune with muscle and breath and vision. Fortune forged in silence and pressure and grit. The kind of fortune that doesn't fade with time. It compounds. Because now, you don't just live by goals, you live by principles. Principles that hold when your emotions don't. Principles that guide when the path disappears. Principles that don't waver, even when the world screams otherwise. That's the ultimate transformation. Not that you've achieved something, but that you've become someone. Someone who holds the line. Someone who doesn't fold. Someone who no longer fears the fire because you are the fire. And when the days get quiet again, when there's no noise, no crowd, no spotlight, you'll still rise. Because that's what fortune does. It doesn't need eyes. It doesn't need hype. It only needs alignment, truth, and action. So keep building, keep sharpening, Keep living like every move matters because it does. You are no longer average. You are no longer waiting. You are no longer wondering. You are the example now. Now go prove it every day, every step, every breath, until the world can't forget your name. Because your life became the definition of what's possible. You went from average to fortune, and you never looked back. What's back there for you now? Regret? Excuses? The version of you that almost made it? No. That chapter is closed, sealed, set in stone as a warning, not a wish. Because the person standing here today, the one who walked through fire and didn't flinch, is not someone who revisits old graves. You're not dragging skeletons of missed chances. You're building altars of execution. Your life is now a blueprint, a reference point for everyone who says it's too late, too hard, too risky, too unrealistic. You are the contradiction to that lie. You are the evidence that intention plus discipline becomes destiny. That belief, backed by action, becomes reality. That every excuse, every delay, every drop of doubt dies in the presence of a person who decides to rise. You didn't wish your way here. You worked. You fell. You fought. You refused to quit. You rewired your mind. You rebuilt your character. You raised your standard. And now, you breathe rare air. And it's not lonely up here. Because it's not about being above others. It's about becoming who you were always meant to be. And now, you see it clearly. The climb was never about the view. It was about the becoming. And as long as you breathe, you'll keep climbing. Not out of need, but because it's who you are now. You don't do average. You don't speak fear. You don't trade your vision for opinions. You live in precision. You breathe in purpose. You move in power. This is who you are. So let the world adjust because you're not coming back down. You're not slowing down. You're not shrinking ever again. You took 5 steps that most only read about. You walked them until they became your foundation. And now you are the fortune. So walk like it, lead like it, live like it every single day. No retreat, no compromise, no looking back, only forward, only fire, only legacy. Legacy, the final layer. Not something you leave behind, but something you live into. Not a memory written by others, but a mark you carve into the world. Breath by breath, battle by battle. Legacy is not built in the spotlight. It's built in silence. When no one sees you getting up at 4 a.m., when no one applauds the 10th failure, you turned into fuel. When no one understands why you keep pushing when you've already done enough. But you know why? Because enough is not the goal. Impact is. Greatness is. Becoming a standard so high it makes the old world uncomfortable, that's what you're here for. And the greatest ones, they don't chase legacy. They become it through how they think, how they speak, how they live when no one's keeping score. Your life is no longer a reaction, it's a message. And that message is clear. This is what happens when someone refuses to die with potential still in their bones. You used the 5 steps not as a ladder, but as a forge. You didn't climb, you transformed, and now you walk differently. Not faster, not louder, but deeper, grounded, unshakable, unstoppable. You don't fear the future anymore. You shape it, one decision at a time, one disciplined breath after another. You don't ask for fortune. You are the vessel it moves through. So what now? Now, you lead, not just with words, but with weight, with presence, with a fire that doesn't dim when the camera's off. You're not here to be remembered for what you started. You're here to be remembered for what you finished. And that finish, it's not a destination. It's a decision made every morning to walk tall, to rise early, to lead loudly, to love fiercely, to give fully, to live intentionally. That's your fortune. And it was never out there. It was always in you. Now the world knows it too. There's a moment in every person's life, a quiet, haunting moment when the soul whispers, you were made for more. Not more possessions, not more praise, but more power, more purpose, more precision. And in that moment, you're faced with a decision that will shape the rest of your life. Will you rise or will you repeat? Because success doesn't visit the lazy. It doesn't shake hands with the inconsistent. It doesn't reward the man who merely hopes. It rewards the man who builds. Not once, not twice, but but daily, with intention, with intensity, with an unyielding commitment to become more. And that commitment? It's not found in luck. It's found in habit. Habits aren't just what you do. They are who you become. They are the invisible architecture of your destiny. They are the repeated agreements you make with your future. They are the rituals that signal to the universe, I'm serious about my evolution. You want to attract success? Then you must become attractive to it, not by changing what you wear, by changing what you repeat. Because success is not seduced by talent. It's seduced by discipline. And the discipline to develop life-shaping, soul-forging, future-creating habits is the great separator. The man who builds habits builds himself. Let's start at the root, the mind. Because nothing changes until your thinking changes. If your thoughts are cluttered, your habits will be chaotic. If your thoughts are small, your habits will shrink with them. So you begin with the sacred ritual of mindset alignment. You train your brain like a warrior sharpens his blade every morning. No skipping. You speak vision. You write goals. You command your focus. Because the mind, left unattended, becomes a playground for weakness. But the mind, trained daily, becomes a weapon of mass creation. So build the habit of mental sovereignty. Read daily. Reflect deeply. Audit relentlessly. Feed your thoughts what fuels your fire, not what numbs your edge. And as your mind clears, belief rises. Because the second habit of success is belief calibration. Most people wait to believe in themselves until the evidence appears. But the ones who win, they believe first. They develop the habit of self-certainty, not because it's easy, but because it's essential. You must speak to yourself like a king preparing for war, not with arrogance, but with authority. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you cast a vote for belief. Every time you say, I'll do it, and you do it, you rewire your identity toward greatness. Build the habit of self-trust. Do what you said, especially when it's hard, especially when no one is watching. Because belief is not a gift. It's a byproduct of behavior. And now we turn to clarity. Because without it, even the most powerful habits fall apart. Clarity is your compass, your blueprint, your internal GPS. And the habit? Reviewing, refining, and repeating your vision daily. You wake up and revisit your why. You revisit your who. You cut the clutter. You simplify. You write it down. You see it in your mind's eye until the fog clears and the fire lights. Clarity is not a one-time decision. It's a daily discipline. And once clarity sharpens, you step into vision. Vision is the habit of seeing the world not as it is, but as it could be. You must develop the ritual of living from the future you're building, not the past you've survived. Because the future you desire is pulling at you. And the habit of revisiting that future, visualizing it, breathing it in before it's real, makes it inevitable. Most people are pulled by their past, but the man of vision, he is pulled by his destiny. And vision, when paired with purpose, becomes a storm. Purpose isn't discovered, it's decided. And once it's decided, you protect it like your soul depends on it, because it does. And that protection, it looks like habitual alignment. You align your time, your circle, your consumption. You ask yourself every single day, does this align with who I'm becoming? If the answer is no, you cut. No guilt, no delay, no debate. Because purpose is not a feeling, it's a focus. And focus is where discipline is born. Discipline is not about punishment. It's not about perfection. It's about devotion. It is the habit of choosing your future over your feelings. It is the ability to say yes to the uncomfortable because you said yes to your destiny. It is the daily, sacred, non-negotiable commitment to your highest self. Wake early, train fiercely, execute relentlessly. Not because it's easy, but because you're done living at half capacity. And once discipline is in motion, action becomes effortless. Not because it's not hard, but because you've already decided. You've made action who you are, not something you do. You build the habit of movement. You don't think about it, you train it into your nervous system. You don't negotiate with laziness. You override it with action. You don't seek motivation. You build momentum. Because momentum, once built, attracts miracles. And when miracles come, you meet them with gratitude. Because gratitude isn't a feeling, it's a framework. It's the habit of seeing through the lens of abundance, even when your hands are still empty. It's the energy that says, even here, I'm blessed. Even in the waiting, I'm wealthy. Even in the fire, I'm being forged. You write it, speak it, feel it, until the universe opens, because you were already open. And when the world shifts, when things go sideways as they will, you meet it with adaptability. The habit of bending without breaking, the skill of pivoting without panic, the strength of evolving instead of resisting. Because the man who adapts never loses. He learns. And that brings us to the final core habit, learning. Never stop learning. The moment you stop being a student is the moment your life plateaus. Read obsessively, ask questions, stay curious, make growth a lifestyle. Make humility your strength, because the man who attracts success is never finished. He is always becoming, always refining, always rising. And that rise, it's not loud, it's relentless. It's the rise of a man who no longer needs to prove anything, because his habits already prove it for him. He doesn't need to chase opportunities. His habits make him magnetic to them. He doesn't beg for respect. His standards command it. This man, he becomes a force, not overnight, but over time, stacking quiet victories, forging identity in fire, repeating disciplines that no one sees until everything changes. And then they ask, how did you do it? They won't understand the answer, because you can't explain a transformation that was built one habit at a time, in silence, sacrifice, and solitude. You lived the answer. You woke up when it was easier to sleep. You showed up when it was easier to shrink. You focused when it was easier to scroll. You executed when it was easier to excuse. You chose habits over hype, substance over spotlight, discipline over dopamine, and now you are here. A walking example of what happens when a man stops waiting for change and becomes the architect of it. And here's the final truth. Success isn't something you achieve. It's something you attract by who you become. It's not out there. It's within. And the bridge from here to there, from potential to power, from wishing to wielding, it's habit. Habit that sharpens your mind, that builds belief, that creates clarity, that anchors vision, that honors purpose, that demands discipline, that trains action, that breathes gratitude, that flexes adaptability, that fuels lifelong learning. These aren't just habits. They are your spiritual armor, your psychological fortress, your ticket to legacy. So build them. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready. Now, because if you can master your habits, you will no longer chase success. You'll simply stand still and watch it come to you. Because success, real, lasting, soul-aligned success, doesn't come to the man who waits. It comes to the man who prepares, the man whose life is a temple of intentional action, the man whose routine is a declaration of identity, the man whose habits say loud and clear, I am no longer hoping, I am creating. That man is rare. That man is dangerous. That man is you if you choose it. And that's the final truth no one tells you. You don't rise because of what you do once. You rise because of what you repeat. Habits are how you vote for your future with every step. They're how you program your nervous system to act in alignment with the man you say you want to become. They are not optional. They are the price. And the man who pays the price, daily, consistently, fiercely, he earns what others pray for. He earns peace not by escaping chaos, but by being unmoved by it. He earns confidence not by faking it, but by earning it in silence. He earns respect not by demanding it, but by living in such a way that it becomes inevitable. So, no more guessing, no more hoping, no more waiting for the stars to align. Build the habits, build the man, and let the man attract the life. Because success is not luck, it is law. And the law is simple. Your life will rise or fall to the level of your habits. So make them sacred, make them sharp, make them unchangeable, and watch how the world begins to shape itself, not around who you were, but around who you decided to become. And that decision, it starts. Right now, this breath, this heartbeat, this moment is not just another second slipping by. It's the opening, the portal, the invitation to stop circling the same mountain of excuses, to stop negotiating with average, to stop watching others live the life you were born to lead. Because your future isn't waiting, it's watching. Watching what you do when nobody's watching. Watching if your rituals reflect your rhetoric. Watching if your habits match your hunger. And that hunger, it has to be daily. Because success is not one decision. It's 1,000 decisions. To wake up early when your body craves sleep. To show up focused when your mind drifts to distractions. To keep moving forward when your emotions whisper, stay small. It's 1,000 tiny battles. And your habits, they are your weapons. Your morning routine is your armor. Your journal is your compass. Your silence is your sharpening stone. Your discipline is your dominance. This isn't about grinding blindly. It's about rising deliberately with habits built not just to win a day, but to craft a destiny. Because make no mistake, you are crafting something. Every habit either builds your future or buries it. Every decision either honors your potential or insults it. So decide not to dabble, not to dip your toe in the water, but to drown your distractions in focus, to suffocate weakness with repetition, to bury doubt beneath the bricks of consistency. You don't need to do it all today. You just need to build one unbreakable habit at a time. 1 hour, one breath, one ritual, stacked, repeated, locked in. And one day, without warning, you'll wake up and realize that success didn't come all at once. It came because you refused to break your rhythm. That rhythm is your power. And once it's yours, truly yours, you don't chase the life you want. You live it not as an accident, not as a fluke, but as a byproduct of everything you've built in silence. No fanfare, no audience, just repetition, just devotion, just becoming. Because that's the truth no one sells you. Success isn't some epic leap. It's 1,000 quiet steps in the dark. It's the water you drink instead of the soda. It's the reps you do when no one's counting. It's the reading you finish when the world is scrolling. It's the decisions you make when no one's watching. The ones that shout into the universe, I am serious about who I'm becoming. And when you're serious, the world responds. Opportunities shift. People take notice. Doors begin to open not by accident, but by alignment. Because you're no longer just hoping to attract success. You've become magnetic to it. Your habits created gravity. And that gravity, it pulls everything that matches your new frequency. Money starts to flow because your value is undeniable. Respect starts to follow because your consistency is rare. Peace begins to anchor you because your habits are stable, unshaken by noise. And best of all, you stop feeling like an imposter in your own life. Because now you're not pretending to be a disciplined, focused, purposeful man. You are him, not someday. Now, you've earned it through repetition, through rituals, through the daily sacred process of not backing down from who you're meant to be. This is the shift. This is the awakening. Not a spark, but a furnace lit by habit, fueled by decision, sealed by commitment. And once it's lit, nothing can put it out. Nothing can put it out because it's not just fire anymore. It's identity. It's who you are now. You are no longer a man reaching for success. You are a man living from it. Not because you have everything, but because you've become the type of man who creates anything. That's the power of habit. It doesn't just change your schedule. It transforms your spirit. It re-engineers your standards. It reprograms your emotional DNA until even your worst day is still miles ahead of who you used to be. Because now failure isn't final. It's feedback. Delays aren't defeat. They're discipline. And resistance isn't your enemy. It's your training partner. Every struggle now sharpens you. Every obstacle now honors you. Every challenge is fuel for the machine you've built. A machine made of unshakable routines, forged through fire, engineered by intention. You're not just motivated anymore. You're structured. And that structure, that's your freedom. Because men without structure drift. Men with structure dominate. They don't need to ask what to do. They already did it. They don't need permission to grow. They wake up building. They don't wait to feel ready because readiness is a result, not a requirement. And now your life reflects that. You walk different. You speak with weight. You carry silence like a sword. Not loud, not desperate, just anchored. Because every day, your habits remind you. You didn't get here by chance. You built this, brick by brick, decision by decision, moment by sacred moment. And now, you don't chase life anymore. You lead it not from ego, but from essence. Because the man you've become doesn't need to announce his power. It's felt in his presence, in his stillness, in the quiet fire behind his eyes. This is what happens when you live by habit, not hype. When you choose systems over emotion, when your routines are so locked in, the world could collapse, and you'd still rise at 5 a.m. Train your body, build your empire, sharpen your mind, and walk with honor. You've become consistent in a world addicted to chaos, disciplined in a culture obsessed with dopamine, grounded while others drift. You are rare, and the rare are remembered, because the man who lives by unbreakable habits becomes unforgettable. Not for what he says, but for what he does, consistently. Not for how he starts, but for how he shows up when it's hard. And now, people will wonder how you built what you built, how you move the way you move, how you became this man. They'll want the secret, the formula, the shortcut, but there isn't one. There's just the truth. You stopped waiting. You started building. You didn't wait for motivation. You trained your mind to move without it. And every habit, every decision, every standard was a vote cast for the man you are now. This is your legacy, not the things you achieve, but the identity you protect. Because when all is said and done, what people will remember is not what you had, but how you lived. And you lived with fire, with purpose, with a code written in habits so sharp, they carved destiny from dust. So keep building, keep showing up, keep walking like a man who knows. Success isn't found, it's forged. And you have become the forge. The forge, that sacred place where pressure isn't avoided, it's welcomed. Where heat isn't feared, it's used. Where the old is melted down to make room for the unbreakable. That's who you are now. You're not chasing strength. You're becoming steel. You're not hoping for change. You are the catalyst. You're not trying to be consistent. You embody it. And when you live this way, when your habits are no longer fragile, but foundational, you become something even greater than successful. You become sovereign, not over others, over yourself. Your time is yours. Your energy is yours. Your focus is yours. Your future is not some vague hope, it's a clear design. And the blueprint? It's etched into your habits. You eat to fuel. You read to grow. You train to strengthen. You build to serve. You sleep with peace. You rise with fire. Not sometimes, not when it's convenient, daily. Because every day, the world hands you a question. Are you still serious? And your habits answer, absolutely. No noise, no debate, just results, just rhythm, just a man living in full alignment with the life he once only dreamed of. And now, your life speaks, not with volume, but with vibration. People feel your consistency. They feel your presence. They feel your certainty, not the kind you fake, but the kind you earn. And in that certainty, in that discipline, in that structure, you've done more than attract success. You've become it, not in theory, but in embodiment, not in moments, but in every movement. It lives in your posture. It pulses in your decisions. It radiates from the way you show up calm, sharp, relentless. Because now, there is no separation between who you say you are and what you consistently do. You've closed the gap, closed the distance between desire and discipline, closed the space between dreams and doing. You don't need more time. You've already become timeless. Because while others chase results, you chased rituals. And those rituals, those sacred, non-negotiable habits, they built a man no circumstance can break. You don't crumble under pressure. You compound it into purpose. You don't panic in storms. You stand as the storm, and the deeper you go, the clearer it becomes. You were never meant to live a life of average. You were meant to live a life of alignment. And alignment isn't a feeling. It's a practice, a daily return to the truth, a daily recommitment to the process, a daily remembrance that this isn't just about you. It's about the man your children will look to, the man your family will rely on, the man your community will feel when he walks into a room. Because the man of habits, he becomes legendary, not for what he has, but for what he stands for. He becomes the one they quote, the one they watch, the one they follow, not because he asked, but because his consistency was so rare, so unwavering, so real, they couldn't not follow. So keep going, keep rising, keep forging, because the habits you live today, they're not just building success, they're building immortality.